Also share with me your mind map, your brainstorm, and let's work on the strategy first before getting down to the nitty gritties and details. But yeah, now we're going to look at research and understanding the requirements, and let's get into it. So we're going to move at a bit of a faster pace here. Unfortunately, I can't take questions live, but we have such interesting conversations and discussions during the actual live training workshops we had in Lira and Kitkum and Gulu, and I wish I could have recorded all of that and shared. But anyways, like I said, feel free to get in touch. So the first thing is the problem. So in many of these, in the application process, the main thing that they're trying to see, the main question in the whole application process is for you to explain the problem, the nature of the problem. So it's important for you to be able to articulate. And before you articulate it, you have to research it. You have to understand the problem yourself. So if you are working with children in Gulu, and you have a specific focus, maybe it's around nutrition, or maybe it's around education, or maybe it's around like Wakabe are teaching kids how to make their own toys from using just junk and stuff, and hashtag Gulu are getting the street connected children, or the homeless children, or what they call street kids in other places, off the streets, and getting them into interesting activities, dance therapy, art therapy, theater and drama, but mainly to try to move them to these safe spaces. There's a farm they have where they train the kids in agriculture and other things while they're reconnecting them with their families. And so if you are doing this kind of work, you have to explain to the funder what the problem is, so that they have a good sense of what's really going on, so that you can explain your solution. And this is really the crux of your application process. If you do this well, then you are well on your way to getting funding. But if you get this part wrong, you're probably not going to be able to convince the funder that you know what's going on, or you know what you're doing. So it's about understanding the situation, getting to the root of the problem, exploring the dynamics and the drivers of change, and offering viable solutions. It's also about understanding the funder and their mission and goals, getting to know them and what they are looking for, working according to their criteria and requirements. So it's also about talking about your activities, getting very specific about what it is exactly you planning to do, or and how you're going to monitor, measure your impact. And so here's an example. These guys are talking about their direct impact. They reached 350 learners across their programs. And the indirect impact, 10,000 learners and community members were reached. But they also do these really nice stories where they feature, of course, with the permission of the parents, and they feature some of the kids who are part of their program. And they've got really nice, some really nice videos that they've done showing. I think I might have one coming up. But anyways, here you can see visually, but also numerically, you get qualitative, quantitative measures. So understanding the criteria and the requirements. So if you go to the website of an organization like Diakonia, they are doing a lot of, they fund a lot of projects in Uganda. Working for change, we support people in finding ways out of poverty and oppression. So that's already two clues. Okay, it's not clues, the two criteria, the poverty and oppression. Are you doing some work that's related to that? And somehow, yes, explore diaconia more. So you click and you see, okay, diaconia works in the northern and northeastern Uganda, mainly in the Karamoja and Acholi regions. So are you in those regions? Yes? Go ahead. We focus on voice giving, promoting active citizenship, as well as protection and realization of the human rights and the dignity of the marginalized girls, boys, women, and men. Diaconia also works with national civil society organizations to conduct strategic evidence-based advocacy. So there's a lot of information in there, and it already tells you whether you qualify, and if you do qualify, you can go deeper in and get more information about them. But they're also giving you some clues, evidence-based. So they want to see evidence, they want to see proof. So you don't just say we reached 10,000 people. You have to back that up, and you have to say how you reached them and show some kind of document trail or evidence or pictures or videos or something. So their thematic areas are human rights, democracy, gender equality, emergency response. And if you're working directly in those areas, then you can apply for funding from Diaconia. If not, then probably not a good idea. Maybe there's some connection between your work and human rights. It's not exactly directly, or gender equality. You can always get in touch with them and explore if it is. And there's the guiding principles. You can read that, and you just spend some time, read their documents, and get a feel for them and how they talk and where they are and what they're passionate about. And narrative, financial, and audit reports. This is the crux, the crucial essence of it. So they're gonna give you money, and you want to show them how you spent their money. And you do that through your financial reports and your audit reports, and your narrative reports are also important. But if you get the financial stuff wrong, forget it. You're not going to see them again. So your stuff must be set up already. I'm not talking about at the end of the project, you now submitting a financial report. Oh no, guys, what are we going to do? Let's put something together. From the beginning, you have to have a budget, and your budget must be realistic and practical, and all the figures make sense, and they're connected to something. Like you're talking about transport, or you're talking about event venues, or whatever it is. All these things, you have to have quotations for it. If you're still in the early phases, later if you're doing your final report, you have all the receipts for every single item on your budget, and it must all match up. So I just went through that process for a very own Born to Shine project, and I've got all the tools and all the I can share with you how I did it, and how I kept track of all the funding. And so our directors and our funders are happy with the way that the project was managed, because the complete transparency with all the money that was dispersed. How was it spent? Where are the receipts? What is it spent on? So where ongoing monitoring is concerned, we rely on narrative, financial, and audit reports and evaluations performed at all levels, from partner organizations to head office. Audit reports are carried out by certified public accountants. We assess all reports, supplemented with field visits performed by the country offices. So they will send their Diaconia representatives to come and visit your project or visit your office, and it's kind of like it's called a field visit, and I've sat in on some of these, and a small delegation comes and you sit together and you present to them the project, how it's going, what the challenges are, what do you need, all of these nice things. And so it's very important to prepare for, okay, we'll talk about those field visits later. Right now we're still busy just on the application process. But yeah, always keep in mind this thing of building the relationship and giving a very good impression of your organization. And yeah, this is MasterCard Foundation. You can apply to them, and they've got this, what's it called? Empower You, empowering youth organizations in Uganda. And so, yeah, you go in there and you read about the project and you see, okay, it's talking about youth organizations. Am I a youth organization? Very good. Proceed. And yeah, so just understand the criteria once again, understand what they're interested in, read, pick up on their style and tone, their language. Okay, so you want to customize, and so that means getting to know them and their objectives. So you want to understand their vision and mission and see how it connects with your vision and mission, their objectives and goals. What are they trying to achieve? What are their requirements and criteria? What is their process and methodology? How do they work? How can you customize your application, your answers to their questions to meet their process and methodology? What is the size and type of grant that they are offering? Or what are the deadlines? When is it due? All those kind of things. And then also you want to be able to share your insights and be the cutting edge expert in your field. And how do you do this? And you do this by researching, understanding the history and the current situation. So the more authoritatively you can talk about the history, what happened, and what's the current situation, what's going on, it shows that you have your finger on the pulse. And future trends and trajectory. If you understand history and the present, the past and the present, you can better predict the future. You can better understand where things are heading, and so you can talk about if this particular thing doesn't change, then 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line or the next generation. So when you talk in these ways, then funders have a sense that, okay, this person has a big picture understanding of what's going on. They're not just limited focused here with blinkers. They have a broader perspective, And bring in statistics and probabilities, So there are many statistics already that have been done by the Census Bureau and other organizations and all of that you can tap into, and you can say, okay, these number of people are unemployed in our region, in our country, or in our town. These number of children are homeless and on the streets. Or, there are many different statistics, and when you bring in a percentage, 54% of homeless kids are on drugs or smoking. I'm just I just made that up, but it already paints a picture in your mind. It gives a lot of information in a small condensed little package, So, find those statistics and bring them into your proposal. But also you can even generate your own statistics by conducting your own research, and you can come up with and you say, according to our research that we've conducted over the past 3 months, we find that I don't know what percent of women in Kulu are having domestic abuse issues, or this percent of men in Kulu are having alcohol addiction problems. Or statistics carry a lot of information. They also carry a lot of weight, and but make sure you have reliable statistics. Don't just throw something in. I recently read a proposal that one of our members sent, and some of the statistics were quite concerning. I don't think it was based on and so that's don't just throw things in there to sound intelligent or to look good, because it can really backfire. So make sure you use good information. Research, read the existing research, read the books. Conduct your own research by developing questionnaires and surveys and taking it into the community, and people are usually more than willing to uh, participate. And don't make it too long. Don't have a long story and waste people's time. Keep it short and simple, and ask the most important relevant questions, and then you bring it back together. Maybe you have 100 questionnaires you bring, and you had 10 questions on each one. Now you've got data, you've got your very own information that you've produced, and you can analyze it then. So you have your own research and findings. And when you do that, it's very good. It looks very good to the funders that these guys, they're not just fly-by-nights trying their luck. They're thinking about things. They're doing things. So a discussion. Again, we are on online training here, so you can't answer me live. But please send your answers by email and by WhatsApp, or you can even call me. We can talk about it. But have you applied for funding before? How did it go? What did you learn? Okay, so you can pause the video and you can think about those things. But let's continue. Excuse me. Okay, so now we're getting down to the nitty-gritties of proposals and developing and writing your proposal. And I starting off with the budget, because if you get the money side of things wrong, then it doesn't matter what you wrote in your proposal, how fancy and explanations, and if they see that you don't know how to do a budget, well, not just that you don't know how to do a budget, but that you don't know how to manage funds, then they're not going to trust you with their money. So what do you need the money for? So be honest and realistic. Include everything that you can think of that's relevant to your project and to implementing your project. And if you leave out key things, they're going to pick up on that, because they've been doing this a long time. They know. But they're also willing to accept that people do make mistakes. Or a new organization coming for first-time funding, it's not going to have all the solutions. And many of the funders, they're also offering training. So training is part of the package. If they like you and they like what you're doing, they like your track record and your approach and all of that, and your budget looks reasonable, then they're going to take you and they're going to mentor you, train and mentor you to deliver the project according to their system. So triple check, not just double check, but triple check your calculations, your values, your spelling. And if you're using Excel, then you might have formulas in there, and a mistake in a formula can affect the whole total and all of that. So make sure your formulas are correct. And so your monthly cash flow, you're gonna, your money is not just gonna all come in one big lump sum at the beginning of the project and you spend it. Most of them have a kind of a cash flow model where they release parts of the budget to you according to your needs for that month. Maybe your project runs for 6 months or a year or whatever it is. So think about how you're going to break down the cash flow, but also how you're going to monitor it and report on it, how you're going to track that. My budget and cash flow model, it's got a system, monthly system for disbursement of funds, so that you can track the funds against the total budget across the months, and at the end total, to make sure that your total across the months meets your budgeted amount. Anyways, budget monitoring and review. So there are different types of budgets. We can look at that in more detail later. There's the fixed budget, which doesn't change across your project. It begins, and those numbers are fixed, but if things change, then you have budget variations we have to justify and explain. Then you also have a flexible budget or a dynamic budget. The other one is a static one. This is a dynamic budget, which means you change as you go along. Like maybe you originally budgeted for this thing, but now we don't need it anymore, so let's take that one out. Or maybe you overestimated, and okay, let's bring that one down. Or, it's a work in progress, and it changes. And Yeah, and then the policies and procedures. So you might have a policy, for example, around procurement. So before we get a particular product or service, we shop around for 3 different suppliers to get the cheapest, best, um, and you don't just go with the very first supplier you get, who might be way more expensive, or the quality might not be that great, or it might be your cousin, your best friend, or whatever it is. So your policy should say that we don't go to family and friends, and we take 3 quotes before deciding, and we review, and so there's all those kind of things. And then samples and templates. There are lots of samples and templates available online. We also have lots, and so if you're struggling with your budget, please get in touch, and we'll send you some. Like some projects are quite simple, and it's very easy to write. We need this, that, and that, and that. But some projects are more complicated, and you need to think about all the things that you need, and you need to structure your budget in a certain way. And yeah, so now we get down to the style of your actual proposal, the writing of your proposal. Be honest and sincere, clear, concise, and accurate. There's a tendency for people to talk and waffle on and write long stories. And I recently edited a proposal that was 70 pages long. And at the end of our editing, it was 7 pages long, so we got, a lot of it was pictures, but also a lot of it was duplication, and a lot of it was, kind of like trying to sell and oversell, and like maybe, anyways, like that, basically, there goes my water. Try to keep it clear, concise, and accurate. Get straight to the point. People don't want to read, funders don't want to read long stories. They want to get to the point. So keep it simple, practical, and realistic. Active and persuasive. What does that mean? So a passive voice is like, we think that we might implement a project, or an active voice is we are currently doing this, that, and that, and that. So it's strong, it's bold, and it indicates action, or it talks about actual action. And it's not passive, and it's not kind of weak. And then persuasive language, you want to be a little careful with this. You don't want to come across being too persuasive and being kind of salesy, but also you do want to a certain extent, convince them that you are the best, or not the best, but like you are a good option, you are a good candidate. And so you write in a certain persuasive style, which is not easy to do, and there's a way to explain your project, but when you're being persuasive, then, and you, like a salesman, when you go into a shop and a salesman is trying to sell you on the merits of a particular product, or so you got to be a bit of a salesman, but not too much, remember. And then also keep it heartfelt, but also intelligent. So it must, to an extent, again, it's all about balance, and don't be too heartfelt and too soppy and emotional, but bring a certain amount of emotion and heart into it. That's part of how you persuade people. It's part of how you touch people with your plea, basically. You are pleading for help, for funds. And intelligent means you want to, like I said, bring in statistics and bringing, you know what intelligent means, like it's just reason, logic, those kind of things. And then you want to also be informative and imaginative. You want to give information, you want to be creative, show that there's some, you're thinking outside of the box, you're trying to bring in different perspectives, and yeah. So don't be too flowery. There's a tendency to use fancy language and bombastic terminology and trying to be fancy to show that your grasp of the English language. But it's much better to just be direct and to the point and use simple language, simple direct language. I'll show some examples. Sometimes it does help to be a little bit flowery, which means to use a little bit of, how do you say, like poetic kind of expression. But like writing your whole thing in this poetic idiom is just not on. It's not easy to read, and it just creates a negative impression. So there are lots of proposal sample and template proposals that we have, and so I'm just going to touch on a few of them so that you can see how people are writing their proposals. And so like just to give you a sense of how these things are structured, you're going to put in your project title. So make it an interesting title, don't have a boring title to your project. Something catchy. And then a project summary. So let's just read this one quickly. So these guys, the project is storytelling through animation and filmmaking. It's not a very fancy title, but it's direct and to the point and tells you what you need to know. So they say we work with Cleveland youth in 6th to 12th grade through storytelling, visual arts, and media literacy to help them to identify who they are and who they want to be in their community. Students identify a problem in the community and write a short story or short film and how to solve it through community engagement. They are mentored by artists and professionals. So in one paragraph there, with very simple direct language, they've explained a very interesting project. And I personally like it, and if I was a funder, I would be interested to read some more, because they're talking about stuff I'm interested in, which is community development, youth and children discovering who they are through creative things like storytelling and film, art and film. And it sounds really interesting to me, and I personally would like to know more. And content, systems, samples, and templates. So covering letter or inquiry letter, be able to explain your whole organization and everything that you do in one page. How do you condense all of that information in a simple way? So a brief overview of your organization, that's something that I always want. A description of your project. I've highlighted that because that's obviously the essence, that's the key. The nature of the problem, like I talked about earlier, the description of your project is talking directly to the nature of the problem. It's a solution to the problem. And then your past successes and your future sustainability. That's something that a lot of them directly ask about in the application process, but if they don't ask about it, you can build it into your answers, because it's a very valuable thing to share. Your past successes, talking about your previous projects and things that you did really well and beneficiaries that you helped, and your future sustainability. And then your internal monitoring systems. So a lot of them don't ask about that, but the more you can talk about it, the more confidence they will have in you that, okay, this is how we monitor the disbursing of funds and receipts, and this is how we monitor our people in terms of their, if you are working with youth, then your people have to be very reliable, and you have to, to put it simply, there's a danger of abuse happening, and it's happened in and there goes my water again. It's happened in organizations where people take advantage or abuse youngsters in their care. And so how do you prevent that from happening? You know, there can be different forms of abuse, like physical abuse, hitting, or there can be emotional abuse, like taunting and teasing, and there can be even sexual abuse. This has happened in the past, you know. So how are you going to set up your whole engagement and interaction to make sure that those kind of things don't happen? So nobody is left alone with the kids. There's always two people working together with a group of kids, or whatever it is, you know. Describe your internal monitoring systems to minimize, reduce, eliminate any kinds of situations. But it's not just about that. There are many other kinds of, depending on what kind of work you do. There's also, okay, anyways, let's not spend too much time. So, yeah, make sure you talk about all of those things. Let's just read through another sample. The project title is Expanding Access to Urban Growing Space and Agricultural Trainings. Hartford is a food desert with limited access to fresh, affordable food in many neighborhoods. So this is a simple statement, but they're giving you a visual, a food desert. And, you know, so it's a bold opening statement. A staggering 28.1% of Hartford residents live in poverty, compared to 10.4% of Connecticut residents. And the source is Town Charts 2021. So there's your statistic, 28% in poverty. That tells you a lot of information in one sentence there. To increase fresh food access, Knox will expand access to growing space and agricultural trainings through our community garden, urban farming, and environmental education programs. So they're telling you exactly what they're going to do. And in the next paragraph, they're telling you about the infrastructure needs, installing water systems, repairing water pipes, replacing worn-out something, signage, fencing. So it's very specific, very detailed about what they're planning to do, you know. And so in this short 2 paragraphs, I know a lot about this project already, and I have a good sense of what's going on, what they're all about. And this comes from previous grant winners, 2022, 23, and 24. Okay, here's another sample of a little more fancy, flowery language. In a world where individual voices often become lost in the cacophony of societal expectations, fostering artistic expression emerges as a powerful means of empowerment. Art has the unique ability to transcend boundaries, ignite imaginations, and provide a canvas for the untold narratives within each person. This proposal seeks to establish a transformative initiative, artistic expression for empowerment. So, yeah, it's nice writing, you know. We don't yet know exactly what they're going to do, and don't have a good sense of what the project is all about, but you got a bit of a sense of their vision, ignite imaginations, you know. It's like, ooh. So don't have too much of this kind of stuff, but have enough of it, sprinkle it throughout your proposal, that there's some sense of vision, there's some sense of, what do you say? Visual imagery and inspirational kind of eloquence. So again, this comes from a previous grant winner. So using AI tools for writers and content creators, things like ChatGPT. There are many, but ChatGPT is considered the best. So you have to give it good prompts. So the whole point of this proposal thing is that you have to customize and you have to explain your project and that. So you can't expect ChatGPT to know all of that. But there are some places where you can use it. So like you might feed it the prompt about what your project is about and what you're trying to do, and then tell it to write you a better version or something. and then it's going to spit out a few paragraphs of much more nicely written prose about your project, and then you can pull that out and you can use it and you can edit it and customize it once again, so but don't copy and paste the whole chunk from AI, from ChatGPT, and it's not going to be completely relevant. And a lot of funders don't want AI proposals, and we were applying for, we were pitching our story, and so in a lot of these publishers are saying flat out they don't want any AI generated stories or content. So be careful with AI and use it selectively. So you can use AI generated descriptions or ideas. You can use ChatGPT, Google AI, Midjourney, etc. Editing and revising. Yeah, it's important to edit and revise whatever you get out of AI. And then supporting documents, you've got your NPO registration docs, your financial and tax reports, your project reports. Obviously, at the beginning of the project, you don't have any project reports yet, but you've got previous project reports you can share. Your monitoring and evaluation plan. It's very important. We've got a whole another module coming up on monitoring and evaluation. But you're going to include your plan up front, your references. So other organizations you've worked for can give you a reference that they worked with you and it was a really good experience. Also, beneficiaries can give you references that your organization helped them so much and transformed their situation and changed their lives and what have you, and any other documents that are relevant. So yeah, you can include that. And it's important also to create templates so that you don't, each time for every proposal, you're reinventing the wheel, you're doing the same thing over and again. It's going to waste a lot of time. It's better if you're always constantly creating templates that you can reuse in the next application, but always customizing it for that particular application. You don't just pull out, copy and paste and reuse and send that same thing that you did for that other organization to this one. And then the layout, design and presentation, make it easy to read and navigate, logical sequential flow, intro, body and conclusion, not just in your whole thing, but also like each answer to your question has a kind of an introductory remark, the main body of what you're trying to say, and a conclusionary kind of a sentence at the end, so that your answers also have tell a kind of a story and have a kind of flow to them. Include pictures, charts, tables and statistics wherever possible. And like I mentioned, many of them are online applications. Make sure you keep to the limits and the word counts. So many of them will say write 200 words. Your answer must be 200 words or less. So don't go writing 300 or 400 words. This is a mistake I made when I first started. I thought, no, they'll accept because I'm going to write good stuff. But it doesn't work like that. If you go over their limit, they don't like it. So if it's 200, stick to 200 words. And yeah, so the layout is generally, you have an executive summary, a narrative, statement of need, which is the problem, and then project description, which is the solution you're offering, information about your organization and your conclusion, and then you also have your budget and supporting materials. So different organizations do it in different ways. It might not always look like this, but this is the core of your proposal. And then the 7 deadly sins of proposal writing. Number 1 is you fail to focus on your beneficiaries and your funders' needs. So you're talking more about my organization is doing, my organization needs this, that, and that. But you're not talking about what your beneficiaries need and what the funder needs. And then number 2 is no persuasive strategy. Your key points are buried and there's no evidence. Number 3, no clear differentiation from your competitors. In some cases, it doesn't really matter. You don't really have to talk about competitors, but in some places, they want to see that you know what other people are doing in your sphere and how you are doing things differently. Number 4, you fail to offer a compelling vision and value proposition. Number 5, trying to sell your organization and not presenting your project. Number 6, it's difficult to read, it's full of jargon, it's too long and it's too technical. Number 7, spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, names and formulas. You're writing to this organization, but you put the previous organization's name, you get the organization's name wrong. There's an immediate red flag, fail. So yeah. You're trying to build a relationship, and you do this through compliance, communication, and assurance. And as I mentioned, that's your monthly, quarterly, and annual or final progress reports. Most important, your financial budget, expenses, and receipts. And so all the nice, fancy things that you write in your report, they don't carry as much weight as your final financial and progress reports and your M&E and analysis. And then also talking about your challenges and difficulties and variances. Be open about these things. Don't try to hide them and make it look like, oh, we were perfect. Everything went perfectly smooth. No, there are always going to be challenges. And the more open you are about it, the more they respect you. And often if you hide things and eventually it does come out, and then like, why didn't you tell us about this in the beginning? And then, it really creates a negative impression. So ask for help and guidance and training. They are almost always willing to help. They don't expect you to be perfect. And also take lots of photos and videos, get feedback from people, and forms, have feedback forms and attendance registers and all of these nice things. And you can conduct an independent evaluation. These can be expensive, and so it's not a requirement on all projects, but in some projects it is a requirement. And what this simply means is that you get an independent somebody to come in and evaluate your project and evaluate. It could be the finances, an external auditor. It could be your M&E, your monitoring and evaluation. Someone comes in and verifies your facts and figures. And so what is the core problem that your organization is dealing with? How are you planning to solve this problem? Here's a little bit of a challenge for you in proposal writing. Take some time to think about this, brainstorm this, write about this, get really good at this, because this is the core of your proposal. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out on WhatsApp, on email. And more than happy to assist you with your proposal writing and your fundraising strategy and database. Good luck.